This movie built a time machine out of a DeLorean. Another turned Saturday detention into a full-blown identity crisis. In the 1980s, some films made money and some didn't, but these are 9 classic 80s movies that transformed the movie industry forever. 9. The Terminator, 1984. It started with a skeleton on fire. That's what James Cameron saw in a dream while sick in a cheap motel, metal bones rising from flames, walking straight toward him. He woke up, wrote it down, and turned that nightmare into a screenplay. That script became The Terminator, a lean, relentless sci-fi thriller about a woman named Sarah Connor, a man sent to protect her, and a machine that will stop at nothing to kill her. The movie wastes no time. From the moment the T-800 arrives, naked and merciless, everything feels urgent. There's no slow build, no grand exposition, just flashing headlights, pounding synth, and the terrifying realization that something inhuman is hunting you. Schwarzenegger barely speaks, but every time he appears, it's like the film freezes around him. He doesn't blink, he doesn't hesitate, he just destroys. But what made The Terminator hit harder than anyone expected wasn't just the action, it was the atmosphere. This wasn't shiny future sci-fi, it was cold, dark, and full of dread. A haunted version of Los Angeles where shadows stretched too long and payphones could spell your death. The fear didn't come from jump scares, it came from inevitability, from knowing this thing wasn't going to stop until someone was dead. And yet, buried under all that tension was something surprisingly human. Linda Hamilton's Sarah isn't a warrior. Not yet, she's just a girl in the wrong place at the wrong time. But by the end, with grease on her face and fire behind her, she's transformed. She's tougher, smarter, ready. And that last shot of her driving into the storm said everything about where this story was headed. Nobody expected it to become a franchise, but it did, a big one. Terminator 2 came back 7 years later with a bigger budget and revolutionary effects, and somehow managed to outdo the original. The villain melted through prison bars. The hero learned how to smile. And Sarah Connor? She became legend. Even now, decades later, you can still feel the ripple, the time loops, the fate versus free will debates. 8. The Breakfast Club, 1985. It starts with a closed library door and 5 kids who think they have nothing in common. A jock, a brain, a princess, a rebel, and a girl who doesn't say a word. They're stuck in detention on a Saturday, forced to sit with each other and with themselves. But what happens next isn't punishment, it's revelation. The Breakfast Club didn't follow the usual teen movie script. There were no prom kings or makeover montages, just long, uncomfortable silences, a few screaming matches, and the slow, aching process of people actually being honest. John Hughes didn't just write teenage characters, he listened to them. He let them be scared, petty, selfish, kind, real. For every kid who ever felt like they didn't belong, who ate lunch alone, who got labeled before they could speak, this movie felt like a lifeline. There's a moment somewhere in the middle when they all stop performing. The masks slip. They talk about their parents, their fears, the pressure to be something they're not. And just like that, the stereotypes start to crack. That final walk across the football field isn't just the end of detention. It's the start of something bigger, a quiet promise that maybe, just maybe, we don't have to be who they say we are. 7 Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. It opens with a shadow on a cave wall, a whip crack, a narrow escape. And by the time Indiana Jones outruns a giant boulder, you already know this isn't just another adventure movie, it's the adventure movie. Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark didn't waste time with introductions. It threw you into the jungle, threw snakes at you, and dared you to keep up. Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones wasn't flawless. He got punched, he bled, he winced. He was the first action hero who felt human. And somehow, that made him cooler. A guy who could teach ancient civilizations by day and fistfight Nazis by night. He wasn't in it for glory. He just didn't want the wrong people opening the wrong box. And speaking of the box, the Ark of the Covenant wasn't just a plot device, it was terrifying, mysterious, biblical. Most movies would end with the hero saving the day. This one ended with faces melting off and the lesson that maybe digging too deep into the past has consequences. Everything about Raiders felt fast, fun, and just dangerous enough. The stunts weren't digital, the explosions were real, and the pacing? Breakneck. 1 second Indy's cracking a whip, the next he's clinging to the front of a speeding truck. It didn't just entertain, it reprogrammed what action movies could be. Spielberg brought the Saturday morning serial into the blockbuster era and gave it teeth. Lucas gave it lore. Together, they created a film that made archaeologists look cool, maps feel alive, and history feel like a ticking time bomb. 6. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 1986. He wasn't sick. He just knew the world was too big to ignore. Ferris Bueller wasn't ditching class. He was changing what a day off could mean. In John Hughes' sunniest, sharpest film, High School Rebellion wasn't angry or destructive, it was joyful, stylish, weirdly wise. Ferris talks directly to the camera because he isn't just living in the moment, he's inviting us in. He shows us how to slip past parents, principals, and panic with a wink and a plan. What follows is more than just a day of playing hooky. It's art museums, rooftop restaurants, and crashing a parade float to lip-sync the Beatles. Not because he has to, because he can. But the real story isn't Ferris. It's Cameron, the best friend, anxious, stuck, watching life from the passenger seat. Hughes uses Ferris's freedom to shine a light on Cameron's paralysis. One lives like time is endless, the other's drowning in it. And somehow, that parade scene becomes a turning point. Underneath the sunglasses and swagger, Ferris Bueller's Day Off makes an argument that youth isn't just about age, it's about attitude. Ferris didn't just play hooky, he exercised his freedom, and for 2 hours, we all got to play along. 5 E.T., the Extraterrestrial, 1982. It's quiet in the backyard, a flashlight cuts through the trees, and something not quite human hides just out of sight. E.T. the Extraterrestrial doesn't open with spectacle, it opens with stillness. Spielberg gives us a story not about aliens invading Earth, but about one gentle visitor who just wants to go home. When Elliot first meets E.T., there's no fear, just curiosity, a shared loneliness. One's a boy who doesn't quite fit in. The other's a creature that doesn't belong, but together they build something rare, trust. A glowing fingertip, a shared heartbeat, and a bond that grows without needing words. It's simple, it's quiet, and it hits harder than any laser blast. The world around them doesn't understand. Adults panic, scientists swarm, the government wants control. But the kids, they just want to help their friend get home. And in doing so, they find courage they didn't know they had. The final bike chase isn't just thrilling, it's pure freedom, a defiance of gravity and of everything trying to keep them apart. Spielberg didn't treat the story like science fiction, he treated it like childhood, messy, magical, and painfully brief. The camera looked through the eyes of a kid. The score swelled like a secret being kept too long, and by the time that spaceship rises into the sky, you're not just watching characters say goodbye, you're letting go of something too. For Die Hard, 1988, it's Christmas Eve in Los Angeles, and John McClane just wants to patch things up with his wife. Instead, he ends up crawling through air vents with a gun taped to his back, no shoes, and a building full of armed men standing between him and survival. That's Die Hard. Before this, action heroes were unstoppable. They flexed, they growled, they walked away from explosions without blinking. McClane, he panics, he bleeds, he argues with himself. He's not trying to be a hero, he's just stuck and doing the only thing he can, not give up. That's what made Die Hard different. It stripped everything down to the essentials. One building, one cop, and one very bad night. The tension didn't come from how many people McClane could shoot, it came from how long he could stay alive. And then there's Hans Gruber, cool as ice in a tailored suit, quoting philosophy while planning a multi-million-dollar heist. Alan Rickman doesn't yell, he doesn't chase, he plays it slow, calculated, and somehow that makes him even more dangerous. The genius of Die Hard was how small it made the world feel and how huge the stakes became inside it. Every floor McClane climbs, every duct he slides through, every broken piece of glass under his feet tightens the screw a little more. And yet, the movie never forgets to have fun. It gives you one-liners, explosions, heart-stopping near misses. It worked so well, Hollywood turned it into a template. Suddenly, everything was Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a mountain, Die Hard on a submarine. The structure was that solid, the formula that addictive. But even as the imitations piled up, nothing could touch the original. It wasn't about the location. It wasn't even about the action. It was about a guy who was in way over his head and refused to quit anyway. 3 Ghostbusters, 1984. They weren't superheroes. They weren't soldiers. They were scientists with proton packs and unpaid bills. Ghostbusters took the absurd paranormal exterminators in Manhattan and made it make sense. It wasn't just funny, it was cool. And somehow, it captured lightning in a ghost trap. The premise shouldn't have worked. 3 eccentric parapsychologists get kicked out of their university and decide to open a spectral removal service. Their first client? A haunted hotel with a gluttonous green blob in the hallway. Their biggest threat? An ancient god with a soft spot for giant marshmallow mascots. It was chaos, but it was glorious. What grounded the madness was the cast. Bill Murray didn't play Peter Venkman, he was him, all deadpan charm and reluctant bravery. Dan Aykroyd brought unfiltered optimism. Harold Ramis made science sound suspiciously like wizardry, and Ernie Hudson gave the whole thing a much-needed anchor. Ivan Reitman didn't treat the weird stuff like a joke, he played it straight, and that's what made it funny. The ghosts were elaborate, the effects were cutting edge, but it was the attitude that made it iconic. New York wasn't a backdrop, it was a character just as sarcastic and strange as the guys trying to save it. And then came the music. That theme song didn't just top charts, it stuck. It became a chant, a ringtone, a Halloween anthem. Suddenly, kids wanted ghost traps. Ghostbusters wasn't a fluke, it was a phenomenon. 2. The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Star Wars was already a massive hit. It had lightsabers, space battles, and heroes we all loved. But when The Empire Strikes Back came out, it didn't just give us more of the same, it took the story somewhere darker, deeper, and way more personal. This time, the good guys don't win. The rebels are in trouble from the start. Luke is training far away in a swamp with a tiny Jedi Master named Yoda. Han and Leia are constantly on the run. Every scene feels like the walls are closing in. The tension builds until everything falls apart, and then it gets worse. Because right when you think you've seen it all, Darth Vader says 5 words that switches everything upside down. I am your father. Nobody saw it coming. Not Luke, not the audience. That one moment changed the story forever. The movie didn't end with a big win, it ended with a cliffhanger. Han is frozen, Luke is hurt, the heroes are barely hanging on, but that's what made it special. It felt real, like the stakes actually mattered. The Empire Strikes Back proved that sequels didn't have to repeat the first movie. They could go deeper, be riskier, and take the story to unexpected places. Finally at 1, Back to the Future, 1985. Most time travel movies get lost in their own logic. Back to the Future didn't. It made the impossible feel easy and made the ride unforgettable. A teenager goes 30 years into the past, almost ruins everything, and has to fix it before he disappears forever. That's the setup. And somehow, it works perfectly. It all starts with the DeLorean. Not just any car, a time machine built by a wild-haired scientist with a crazy idea and a heart of gold. When Marty McFly ends up in 1955, he meets younger versions of his parents and accidentally gets in the way of their love story. Now, he has one job: get them back together, or he's gone for good. What follows is pure movie magic. Every detail matters. Every moment connects to something else. The story moves fast, but never feels rushed. It's smart, funny, exciting, and full of heart. Michael J. Fox brings Marty to life with the kind of charm you can't fake. Christopher Lloyd's Doc Brown is chaotic and brilliant, and somehow totally believable. But under the time travel and the jokes, there's something deeper. It's a story about family, about identity, about what happens when you really see your parents for who they were and how that changes how you see yourself. For a movie about jumping through time, Back to the Future was always about connection. It became a classic the moment it hit theaters. It launched a trilogy, inspired generations of storytellers, and gave us a clock tower, a hoverboard, and a flux capacitor we'd never forget. These 9 movies didn't just entertain us, they shaped an era. They showed us new heroes, new worlds, and new ways to tell a story. So which one made the biggest impact on you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more throwbacks just like this.